Um, and even as an adult, an adult, it didn't make sense to me how that a God above, who is so powerful, who is so mighty, if there is a God that can part the Red Seas and walk on water and do all of the things that are told in the Bible, then why did this God not save me from the abuse? And not only me, but all of you too. All of you. All of the children in the world. Children that are raped, children that are murdered, children that are abused. I was pissed off, and it took me a really long time to think about that and to really come to terms with the fact that God does not step in and do things and prevent things from happening, because man has free will and free choice. And it was really hard for me to understand that and to come to terms with that. I did eventually do that. However, it took me a long time to do that. What I was going to say is that when I was first started going through the healing journey, I didn't even want to say God. I didn't want to even connect it with a male figure, a he person, a male. So it was actually, I started out, and it was comfortable for me to say Mother Earth. And that connected with my Native American spirituality, to talk about the Mother Earth embracing me. When I would sit in the woods, it felt comforting to think of a Mother Earth and just cradling me and embracing me in the palm of her hands. Nurturing goodness. It felt good to connect with that. After a while, after I started connecting with that, I would say, Mother Earth and Grandfather Sky. I was okay with that. Some of the terms in Native American beliefs, Grandmother Sun, Grandfather Sky, Mother Earth, the Great Spirit. I became a little bit more comfortable with those terms, and actually, after a while, I really realized that God is not actually a female or a male. It's actually everything that encompasses all of the above. And actually, I turned my thinking around and my perspective around. A lot of things that I was taught growing up, including from the ritual abuse, but including the doctrine from the teachings of the churches and stuff about, what's good and what's bad, and what is and what isn't, and things that you should do and shouldn't do. I had to rethink a lot of that stuff. And actually, what I started doing? I actually started talking directly to the source. I've learned that you don't need to go to a church in order to connect with God, because God is actually everywhere. God is outside in nature, and that's actually where I connect with Him the most. So that is actually one of the things. When I was talking to my therapist when I went this last time to deal with some of my ritual abuse memories, it was some of the things that I couldn't deal with on my own, because they were just really tough things to get over. Not to get over, but to heal from and to work through, to process the memories of it. And she would ask me, she would say, what about your spiritual self? What about the spiritual side of you? You need to connect to that, along with everything else that you're doing, everything else that you're working with. It's really important to connect that. But because of the way that I am programmed up here, and the way that I deal with things and cope with things, it's very hard for me to sometimes mix things. I the way that I have survived all my life is to compartmentalize things. There's a little box over here for one thing. There's a little box over here for another thing. There's another little box over here. I have always put things in little boxes all inside of here in order for me to deal with it and in order for me to cope. And it was hard to start to blend those things and know that they didn't have to stay in their separate boxes, but to blend them. And that is actually some of the things that I've been doing over the past couple years. Blending them, and I'm not talking about integration. I'm just talking about feelings and emotions, the spiritual side, of the playful side, the serious side, just different things. All of those things, they don't have to be in separate boxes. At least it is for me. I don't know what it is for you. And you know what? Whatever it is, it's okay. Everybody is an individual, and they actually have their own ways of processing and doing and being and learning and dealing and coping and all of those things. So I'm just sharing my experience, and if something that I say is helpful to you, then I'm really glad about that. However, everybody does have to find their own thing that what connects with them. That was one of the things that I wanted to say about spirituality, is that you find what works for you, because, like I said, what works for me may not work for you, and what works for you may not work for me. And so you have to find what connects you to that spiritual side of yourself. And I know a lot of people, they don't want nothing to do with it. I do think it's important, and I think that eventually you may not be ready to deal with that right now, and that's okay. It has to be within each person's own time and way. But I think that there will come a day when you connect with a spiritual side. A lot of people do now, some don't. It really just depends on the individual. But I just thought it was an important subject that I wanted to share, just my own experience with it. And that's good. I have no idea how much time that I have. I have probably went over, so I'm going to say goodbye. Anyway, if you have any questions or any comments, please comment, and hopefully you'll enter into some dialogue with me about this, because I know it's a subject that's actually been quite important to me, and it's one that I continue to work on a daily basis. I don't always connect to that spiritual side of myself. Sometimes I do more than others, and I know that I feel that I need to a little bit more than I do sometimes. So, talk to me about it, okay? What are your thoughts on it? What do you feel? Do you just shut it out and say, no way, Jose? Or do you connect with it? What types of things do you connect with that make you feel good, that feed your spirit and your soul? What are some of those types of things that do that? Okay? Anyway, bear hugs. Bye. Have a good one. See you later.